Hey guys, and welcome to another episode here on the Learning Droid. So today it's going to be a couple of firsts, quite a few firsts actually. This is a piece of mahogany. It's rock solid. I actually received it by mistake. I'd ordered something else. I got this piece of mahogany instead. Company said, keep the mahogany, we'll send you out what you ordered anyway. So that's very nice of them. So I've got a nice piece of mahogany here. And this will be my first time burning on mahogany. As you can see, mahogany is a sort of a dark brown wood, or medium brown wood. It's not really a dark brown wood, it's a medium brown wood. So I'm not sure what the burn will look like. It's got a very tight grain. It's almost obese-ish in the grain style, in that it's got tight, very narrow lines of grain. And we'll have a look at how that burns. So what we're doing today is we're doing the Coffeh Time, Dodger and Shercat fan art style thing. So it'll be my first time patterning on mahogany, and it'll be my first time burning mahogany. So we're going to have a look at both those. I'll be using my solid point machine for the patterning, as I always do, because it's easier with a solid point machine to pattern. And I'll be using my variable temperature wire point machine for the actual burning. Now, I'm going to assume I'm going to need quite a hot temperature, but we'll see. So guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt the camera down and we'll get on, and I'll flip the video and do everything in post-production. Once again guys, if I speed parts of this video up, there isn't going to be any music. I apologise for this guys. I am working towards the idea of getting music included in my videos, but at the moment they're going to be silent for now. I will do some talking for the first section, but me talking for an hour is kind of boring, so we'll see what goes on from there. Thanks very much for watching guys. If you like the series, like the way it's done, if you have any comments, leave the comments. If you like the video, that's great, it tells me that I'm doing something you guys enjoy. If you leave a comment, whether it's positive or negative, that's great, it tells me what I need to improve on, what I'm doing well. You can also check out my works at Thomas Bott's Custom Pyrography on Facebook. I also have at TB Pyrography on Twitter, which is a great little channel. So there's all sorts of ways you can find out about when I'm putting videos up, what projects I'm doing. So guys, thanks for watching, and we'll get straight on to the work. Hey guys, so we've got our pattern, we've got our piece of mahogany, and we've got all the general sort of assorted bits and pieces. We've got our wire brush, we've got our glass dish, we've got our Peter Child's machine and the wire tip bits, we've got our Weller machine and the solid tip, and we've got our bit of scrap wood. So what we're going to do is we're going to test to make sure that's not going to, it is scorching the paper but not too much. We've got our fan which is turned on. If I just pop this over to the fan for a second, what we can do is we can cool down the tip of the machine while I line up these so that it doesn't scorch the paper. So problem is I haven't got the light above me today, it's on the right hand side, which means that lining this up is going to be a little bit more tricky, not to mention we have the fan. So how far? We've got a little bit, so I want to sort of have it more up towards the top, so more up there. And once again, this is my first time patterning on mahogany, and my first time, turn the fan down, and my first time burning on mahogany. So let's line that up, and hopefully we will get a nice tidy pattern. There should do. So as you can see, I'm burning the paper, which isn't ideal. I've let the patterning tip heat up for a bit too long. But there's nothing I can do about that now other than try not to leave it too still for too long. So I'm going to try and keep it on a constant move. My patterning bits actually become a little bit rough, which is a bit annoying, but that's the way it goes when you get carbon build up on a patterning tip, and it has to get cleaned. And so let's hope this has transferred the pattern really well. No, it hasn't. It's transferred part of it really well. Hopefully though, if I pop it back down and I start from this end, which is the fixed point, and I come across, hopefully I can get this pattern to transfer across well. It'd help if my paper wasn't sliding about. Look, that's a little bit better. We've got most of the pattern. I will try and add in the last little bits that we're missing. Once again, starting from where it's fixed. Trying to see where things are. This isn't the best way to transfer a pattern, guys. Obviously Mahogany isn't brilliant at taking up a pattern, which is a disadvantage with Mahogany. Probably one of the reasons a lot of people don't use it. So that's, I would say, 90% of my pattern done, and I can probably wing the rest, guys. So we'll pop that aside and I'll set up for the burn. Once again, this is going onto a concrete floor sitting on top of its stand. Okay guys, so we've got our two pyrography tips set up. One of them is set up with a folded spoon style tip, which I'm just going to try and straighten up a little bit. Probably help if I used a pair of pliers rather than a screwdriver, but essentially I'm just going to try and bring it more into a position where it will be useful without completely destroying it. And then we've got a fine detail tip as well. Once again, I've personally found that using a coupler is not really for me, and I will be talking about that in my review that will come soon. But let's start with our fine detail tip, and as always, plug her in with it set on 0 and turned off. Flip the switch, turned up. As this is a piece of mahogany, it's probably going to burn quite sort of high temperature, so it's probably going to need quite a high temperature to burn. Clean up the work area, make sure the fan's turned on and safe. Whack that up a little higher. Excellent. So guys, let's start. Let's see, where should we start? Get a little bit more cable. Well, already I can feel the fine grain is going to be a little bit awkward with this. That's okay, guys. It's quite a stiff grain, which means that it's making the machine jump slightly as we do our work. That's why we do these tester pieces. Do these tester pieces just to see how they go. Need to move my lamp a little bit, I think. There we go. Now my hand's not obscuring the piece every time I move it under the lamp. Once again guys, I'm struggling to find the perfect place to put the lamp and the camera and the well, everything really, to get exactly what I need. So any advice you can give, constructive feedback, all going to be really appreciated guys. So, Sherlock Cat's little deer stalker style hat. It's been burnt in. Then we can do his back ear. Comes up behind our deer stalker. It's not too bad to burn guys, mahogany. You need a higher temperature. I mean, when I was doing birchwood ply, I was using a 0, and now I'm upping it up to about 4.5, near a 5, to try and get a decent quality burn on it. Once again, there's significant variation in the grain, so you can't expect perfect results. This is my first time burning mahogany. You might ask why I'm doing a bit of fan art with my first time. It's because I'm not a perfectionist guys, I'm just doing a little bit of free stuff, just to enjoy myself. If it's really rubbish it won't get sent off. If it's okay, I'll send it off to the person who inspired the little bit of fan art, in this case Dodger. Second of the TGS group, to inspire a little burn. I just love the idea of Sherlock Cat. Sherlock Cat is perhaps my favourite Sherlock, closely followed by Sherlock Hound and possibly Basil of Baker Street. Yes, I like animals. Especially talking animals. You might think it's a little bit mean to essentially use people I'm a fan of to inspire bits of art, and then also use those bits of art as experimentation for my homemade pyrography bits and for new kinds of wood and things. But thing is guys, you can't really be picky about free stuff. For instance, this wood is free, and while I would have preferred to get, you know, a nice bit of birch or a nice bit of basswood or obeshi, something that I have had good experiences burning on for free. A bit of free mahogany is a bit of free mahogany. Do not look a gift horse in the mouth, as they say. And once again, that grain has slightly led my point astray. So you have to be very careful when burning that you don't end up following the grain rather than your line, which is a good thing to know. I think I was perhaps a little over ambitious with some of the fine detail on this, considering I'm burning it on mahogany, but you never know. We'll see how we go. Mahogany smells quite nice when it burns, I'll give it that. Although I'm sure it would smell quite acrid if the smell was a lot stronger. It's one of those smells, it's pleasant in small amounts, but in a large amount I'm sure it would be quite pungent, which is an advantage of having the fan. I only ever get the smell in small amounts. So guys, having the light up above causes it to glare. Having the light down by my side causes my movements to block. The light. So we may have to find a happy little medium between the two. Little coffee cups. Having a look at how it looks, guys. It's looking okay. It's not looking too terribly awful. One of the things to bear in mind, guys, is you can always burn a little bit deeper. It's very hard to take away a burn to make it shallower. I mean, I have done it in the past. For instance, I burned a bit too deep on my owl project when I first made the owl project, and so what I did was I went back and I used a bit of sandpaper and a bit of time, and I essentially sanded the whole project. But that was because I burnt too deep on the whole project, guys, which made that possible. So I could sand the whole thing. Sanding specific areas or sanding individual areas of a bit of pyrography is very difficult indeed. So as I was saying, guys, while it's a nice little dense bit of dark wood, it looks really good, I have to say that. It does look really good. It is quite hard to burn. It's especially hard to get nice smooth lines when you're burning. It is unfortunately what I'd planned to do with this. Woohoo! And there are soft spots where if you touch your machine to the wood for more than a split second, you suddenly have a burn 5 times deeper than you wanted. Which is a unique thing about woods that have very sort of high grain density changes. It's odd because this wood seems to have a very fine grain, but it has some very sort of distinct areas of strength change or distinct areas of grain weight change, which is very odd indeed. And before anyone accuses me, I did not put Dodger in shorts because I'm a perv. I put Dodger in shorts because I'm copying Adventure Time shamelessly as a bit of fan art. Because Coffee Time. It's not being sold, it's not sort of making me money. So people seem to like the last little bit of fan art I did for TGS, which was one for Jesse Cox, which was the Great Space Butterfly in Genji. Great Space Butterfly being I believe, an invention of Jesse Cox, as far as I'm aware, and Genji being a character based on a prophet of the Great Space Butterfly in a game called Awesome Noughts. In this case, we've got Coffee Time, featuring Shercat, who is Dodger's pet cat and an invention of Dodger. Her pet cat isn't an invention of Dodger, her pet cat's a cat. But the affectation of Shercat is Dodger's invention. And she's over on Press Heart to Continue as well as on Dex Bonus, and she's part of the TGS team. And the sort of design style, or not the design style, but the sort of design, the pose and things, comes from a show called Adventure Time, which is a insanely popular kids cartoon, rivaled only by My Little Ponies, at which point all the bronies declaim that they have anything to do with Adventure Time, and all the Adventure Time fans declaim they have anything to do with the bronies. It's so much fun to set fandoms against each other. I am not a fan of fandom, which is odd because I'm doing fan art. But I do fan art because I enjoy doing pyrography, and I was looking for, not an excuse, but I was looking for a pattern to do. And with me, I find it very hard just to do random patterns. I mean, some people do patterns of their religion, some people do patterns of things they really like, and I'm one of the people who do patterns of things I really like. And I like Dodger's shows, and I like Jesse Cox's shows, and several other internet shows, which means that here we are doing a design based on those. Shows in general that I'm interested in on YouTube tend to be sort of computer game related. I don't play a lot of computer games myself. If I did, I'd be terribly bad at them. But I enjoy learning about computer games. I used to play a lot of computer games. But the kind of computer games I like require a big input of time. I mean, I like things like the Final Fantasy series, or series. Get your grammar right, boy. I like the Final Fantasy series, and I like things like Elder Scrolls. Things like that, and it means that I have to invest a lot of time if I want to really enjoy that style of game. I mean, I like games that will take you 40 hours just to understand what's going on in the main storyline, and then have a lot of side quests and things. I mean, the last game that I really went through all the way was Fallout 3, and I think I did every single side quest possible along with the DLC, which gives you the idea of the kind of person I am and the kind of sort of style of stuff that I like doing. So on the Adventure Time sign, guys, you've got a sword that goes through the sign. I have replaced it with a games controller. I'm pretty sure Dodger does most of her gaming on a PC, but that does not mean she doesn't get a game control. That, and I couldn't get a keyboard to fit through the fit through the text. Oh, that would be funny. Although I suppose I could have done a broken keyboard with the keys falling out being the letters for Coffee Time, but that would have been a very odd keyboard if it just had the letters for Coffee Time in it, considering there's 2 F's and 2 E's, and yeah, that would have been a very odd keyboard. So I'll pop this off and we'll move on to our folded spoon type bit for the lettering. This is a very small pattern, guys. It's been a while since I've done a small pattern. My last couple of patterns have been quite large. I suppose the ant pattern was quite small. So you can see, guys, if this is the these dots are the spoon tip dots, you can see that that's very similar to the spoon tip dots. What I have to do to make it more like the spoon tip dots is just pinch the end and just see if I can't fold these 2 tines slightly more upwards. And then we've got a bit that does a very similar pattern to a spoon tip, which is really good, guys, because spoon tips are one of the few tips that you really have to pay quite a bit for. But what I'm going to do this time around is I'm going to use the points to do the edges of the letters. You may ask sort of what I did to make this pattern, guys. There's going to be a video up on one stage of it, but basically what I did was I got together some art resources, and so basically I copied some pictures that were, I sort of saved onto my computer some pictures and printed them out that were the sort of thing I was looking for. So I saved like Dodger's avatar on YouTube. And then once I'd saved that and once I'd gotten everything together, I used a tracing style system to essentially trace the different elements. And basically what I did was I traced multiple different elements and sort of lined them up and stacked them on top of each other to give me the image I was looking for. The only thing that I didn't really trace, or the only things I didn't really trace, were the lettering, which is proving to be really awkward to do on Mahogany. Wonders will never cease. I was kind of expecting the lettering to be rather awkward, especially considering the style of sort of bubble lettering that it is. I wasn't expecting to have an easy time of it. And because of course it's on Mahogany, which makes it kind of difficult to do. Two tines on the end of here are actually quite useful for doing the edging. My hand's getting a bit cold because of the flow of the fan, but that's fine. These things happen. We will endure. We will endure. So the letters I drew by hand and then used a computer program to sort of tighten them up and make them tidier and more what I wanted. The controller and the controller cable I drew by hand. The Sherlock hat, I found a sort of art drawing of a Sherlock style hunter hat. Deerstalker, is it? Deerstalker style hat, and shrunk it down and then sort of altered it to fit the cat, because of course a normal deerstalker will not fit a cat. I would have loved to put a pipe on the cat, but it just didn't look right. I tried it a couple of times and basically it just looked like the cat was sticking its tongue out because of the size of the image. So I kind of said, nah, we'll stick without the pipe. It can be Sherlock on one of his non-smoking days, because we all know Sherlock cat smokes, and smokes terribly. No, I'm sure Sherlock cat doesn't smoke. There'll be some committed fan of Dodger going, how dare you declare Sherlock cat as a smoker? Oh, you're obviously not a Dodger fan because you didn't watch Coffee Time episode 34, in which he specifically states that Dodger's Sherlock cat is not a smoker, because this is what people do, because people are wonderful. I think anyone who has that sort of encyclopedic knowledge is just brilliant. They're great fun to talk to, they're great fun to have time with, because anything you say about what they have encyclopedic knowledge about, they'll instantly know what you're talking about, and anything you say about anything else will be completely lost on them, which is just great. I mean, I'm the same sort of thing. I was involved, I still am involved to a much lesser degree, but I was, when I was younger, heavily involved in martial arts, in karate to be specific. And while I wasn't a genius about it, for someone my age, with my degree of training, the amount of sort of Japanese martial arts terms I knew, and I used to spend a lot of time talking about it. So I am just as guilty of being a complete and utter bore. Not that these people are boring. I suppose you could have classified me as a fanboy of martial arts, I suppose. The only disadvantage with a fan as a way of keeping the smoke out of your face, it's not as uncomfortable to wear as a mask because you're not wearing it, and it's not as awkward as a rebreathing system or a pipe breathing system, and it's not as big as a carbon filtered vent system, and it doesn't need to have a vent tube or anything like that, but crikey does it make you cold. So, mahogany, hard to burn on, but it does burn deep enough and dark enough. Needs to be burnt a bit hotter, but then again it's not the hottest thing I've ever had to burn. Burning on beach, you almost have to turn the machines all the way up to the top to get them to sink in, and then beach also has soft points, so with it turned all the way up you've got a lot of trouble getting that to stick. And of course, Sherlock cat is a black cat, because as far as I'm aware, Sherlock cat is indeed a black cat. So we're just going to do little dashes, just fill in Sherlock cat to a certain extent. I think I'll probably leave his face very light, not to spend a long time doing dashes on his face. Just a little colouring in, which makes me sound like a child. Just a little colouring in, Mom. And there we go. We have Coffee Time. my shameless rip-off. No, wait, it's not a shameless rip-off, it's fan art, fan art, fan art, it's fan art. It's not a shameless rip-off. Believe me, I promise. So there you go, guys. Any comments about the new setup for the camera positioning and for the positioning of the lights and things, you're more than welcome to say. And I'll see you again next time, guys. Learning Droid.